Well, welcome back to the 100 This Podcast. My name is Nate Robinson. I'm here with Pastor Dr. Joseph Tillman, Demon Jr. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm really well. So, wife and I had a date last night, and
cool.
Yeah, went up to Atlanta and saw Circus du Soleil or something like that, and a bunch of people flipping around and doing gymnastics and crazy stuff, and it was pretty awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. So I'm well. I'm good.
Cool.
Yeah.
The weather this past weekend was crazy.
The weather was insane, except for it really wasn't near as insane as they thought it was going to be.
Right.
Because that's the way it always goes.
Because we already know, because it already happened.
Correct. Or did it?
Today we're talking about atheism.
Yeah, we are.
Yes. And I can't believe we haven't talked about this before.
Yeah, I was actually trying to think about that. Like, have we not done an episode on this before?
We did an episode about whether God existed or not, but not about people who firmly don't believe God existed.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah.
So atheists,
Right.
atheism.
So it's kind of like a Seinfeld episode. It's an episode about nothing.
Right. Oh, okay. Yes, that's what they say about that show.
Yes.
Read the ad again.
All right. Before we get started today with our questions, we want to shout out our sponsor, the Discipleship Group. The Discipleship Group is a systematic training for Christians who want to go deeper and grow stronger in their relationship with God. In these courses, Dr. Jay Zen brings you over 4 decades of study, pastoring, and teaching to equip the saints to make disciples. The Discipleship Group is a series of 6 books, each book consisting of 26 weeks. Therefore, it's 3 years of study. Each week has articles written by the author to read, a chapter from a supplemental book like The Passion for God or More Than a Carpenter, The Master Plan of Evangelism, and there's scripture readings each week from the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Psalms. I've used the Discipleship Group resources for over a decade. I've used them in groups of 2 to 3 people. I've used them in small groups up to 12 people. And I can tell you, as a pastor, as someone who spends a lot of time making disciples and meeting with others, that the Discipleship Group resources are the best that I have found for growing in our faith and for encouraging us to go and make disciples ourselves. Go to discipleshipgroup.com, check out their resources, find out information about Dr. J, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it.
Boy, oh boy, it's cold from all the weather. Patreon.
Yeah, go to Patreon and you can go there and support us and allow us to keep doing these, crazy intros and crazy episodes and yeah, I mean, we'd love your support. That'd be awesome.
Website.
Go to the website, find out about us. Again, I feel like I say the same thing about every week, but you can go there, find out about who we are. You can go there and support us through purchasing merch and yeah.
Social media.
Go there, like, subscribe, comment, ring the notification bell, and share, follow, all those things.
All right, first question. What is nothing?
Well,
I'm sorry. What is atheism?
Yeah. So atheism is, I'm just going to give a simple definition of atheism is the belief that there is not a God.
Any God?
Any God.
Like no gods.
No God, gods, no supernatural, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no ghosts.
No.
Okay.
Like,
no demons, no angels.
No.
Okay.
None of that.
What about space?
They believe in space.
Okay.
Yes.
Aliens?
The possibility of aliens exists.
Sasquatch?
Absolutely. Sasquatch. I'm sure some do and some don't.
Chupacabra? Mermaids?
I mean, now if we're getting to fairy tale stuff, no.
Centaurs?
Hard no on mermaids and centaurs.
Hercules?
Half
gods?
Yep, half gods. Nope, no half gods.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what atheists, they don't believe in any of that stuff.
No.
Except space.
Except for space. They
Okay.
absolutely believe in space.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and aliens, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the Bible talk about atheism?
Not really.
Okay.
And because, when the Bible's written in the day and time of the Old Testament being written, the New Testament being written, it really is focused, not focusing. The culture is really a polytheistic culture. So it's really not about if there's a God, it's about which God, is the true God. Like, which God do you follow? And so for like, like way early on, when you talk about like the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, one of the reasons that name is stated for the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it's like it's a clan God, so for like every tribe, if you were, like had their own God or gods. Okay. And then as like countries develop and nations develop, same thing happens, right? There's like every, whether it's the Philistines or the Egyptians, they have their God or gods. And so the very fact that most of the Bible is written during these times, you see mostly an idea of multiple gods. So that's why, for example, when Moses is meeting with God in Mount Sinai, and God is giving him the 10 Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, and God tells Moses, there'll be no other gods before me. And so, in other words, and he's dealing specifically with the fact that, all these other people groups have their own gods. And so we're saying there's no gods. Now, there is a couple places in Scripture that do speak about the belief in there not being God. Okay?
Okay.
And so
any God at all?
Yeah, any God. Like, okay. So in Psalm chapter 14, verse 1, it says, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. And so that's
pretty straightforward,
right? And the way that David's writing that, or the psalmist is writing that, is to believe that there's not a God is actually to be foolish.
So that's smarter to believe in a false God than it is to believe in no God?
Well, and specifically what David's saying here is that to believe that that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, to believe that he's not the one true God is foolish.
Okay.
And so that's the perspective David's coming from. But the idea that there's no God, like, that's crazy. How can you think that there's no God? Now, Romans chapter 1 speaks to it in a little bit different way, to kind of dividing it up between the idea of there being a creator and then creation. Okay?
Okay.
So in Romans 1 verse 20, it says, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. And although they claimed to be wise, they became fools. And that's kind of connecting back to that psalm, the idea of believing there's no God, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being, and birds and animals and reptiles. So this is a little bit different. It's the sense of, we're not going to worship a God that's like outside of time and space, but rather we're going to create gods, if you were, right? Idols. And sometimes they would say, well, they symbolize, or they're representative of these different gods, the God of the sun or the God of the harvest, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so, but Scripture is so just embedded into a context of polytheism that there really is not a lot of conversation about individuals that believe there are no gods.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that there weren't people during this time that didn't believe there was a God. Like, I'm sure we've got, individuals that do not believe there's a God from thousands of years ago coming forward. It's just that just wasn't the prevalent thought. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought that Job's friends didn't believe in God.
No, they believed in God.
Oh.
Yeah.
They just thought that God was an asshole.
Well, no.
To Job.
So Job's friends, they thought that Job had sinned. And so they thought that his wrongdoing against God was why all these things were happening to Job.
Okay.
So they're trying to confront Job and be like, hey, you need to confess. You need to repent.
I thought they were trying to convince him that there wasn't a God.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Why are atheists atheists? What do they believe?
Why? Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk about atheists from a stand. Okay. That's a big question, because a lot of atheists believe in different things. Okay, it's
not a big question.
Because you're saying they believe there's no God, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you go beyond the idea there's no God,
Right.
And like why they actually believe there's no God. To me, that's a larger question.
Right.
Because it can come...
Which is the one I'm asking.
Right.
So you're right, it's huge.
Yeah. Because it's coming from a place... it can come from a lot of different places of why individuals believe there's no God. Okay. So there's the intellectual side, quote unquote, of, so for example, if we talk about atheism, and really, if we're talking about the atheism that began to arise in the Enlightenment, and then, the 18th century, and then come through into the 19th, 20th century, and that became attached to science and the idea of modernism, then atheists that started to believe that science gave the answers that God once provided to people. Okay? And so, in other words, science can give us the answers we need. We no longer need a God to give us these answers because now science can. And so, the rise of enlightenment, the rise of, deism, like basically atheism is kind of like one step from deism. Like if deism is that there's like a being that's out there, possibly, but then now we're going to the idea of, okay, now it's becoming mainline to move from deism to atheism and moving to a place of, okay, there's actually no God at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, it's rising during this period of time, attaching to the sense of science and modernism, and especially that's what we experienced in the 20th century, right? So this idea that atheism and just kind of exploding really began to trek with the rise of science and modernism. And so there's that's one side of it. Like, okay, we have a modern worldview or a scientific worldview that is paired with atheism. So there's one side of it. There's another side of atheism that is about, one's own personal life experiences. Okay. Like, so I had something so horrible happen to me in my life. There's no way there can be a God. All right. And so I just reject that there's any kind of God because my life experience. All right. So there's the life experience part. And then there's just individuals that have been so burned by Christianity in Europe and in Americas in particular that you're just like, no way. Like if this is like, if God is hinged on this belief system or these group of people called Christians,
right, I'm
out. And so I think there can be multiple layers of why an individual is an atheist, is what I'm getting to. And so there's multiple reasons of why an individual can believe that there is no God.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is hard to make fun of because there's nothing to make fun of. Because they don't believe anything. Like when you tell me your beliefs, at least there's substance to something.
Right.
To grasp onto for material.
Right.
I got nothing.
You got nothing? Yeah.
Anyway, next question.
All right.
This isn't in the questions.
Okay.
Why do atheists believe there is no God? Argue their point.
Argue their point?
Yeah.
Like, so from their perspective.
Yes.
Okay. So from their perspective, the idea, okay, so again, this
Convince me.
All right. Wow, this is really flipping the tables around.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. So let's call it for what it is.
You're wrong. God exists a lot.
That's a lot of them everywhere.
Yeah.
But okay. So if I play devil's advocate,
okay,
all right, then the easiest point is to say, yeah, but you've never seen God, right?
True.
You've never seen him. You've never heard from him. You haven't touched him. Like there is no bait. Like your idea that there is a God is just make believe.
Okay.
Right? Because you've never seen him. You've never touched him. You've never heard from him. Like you can't be like, that's God. Like there's God. Like you don't know that. And so it's denying logic in and of itself to believe that there's a God. If I'm trying to be logically consistent and say that I want to found my life on things that are rooted and grounded in empirical evidence, well, there is no empirical evidence that there is a God. You can't prove that there's a God. So therefore, why would I believe in that God?
So do you think that you're logically consistent?
Which side? The side that's the Christian or the atheist?
The pastor, doctor side.
Okay. Do I think I'm logically consistent? Yes. So what's interesting is I think, so this is Joseph speaking as a Christian. This is getting confusing.
Yeah.
And so, no, I actually believe that.
Am I atheist now?
Right. We just keep reversing it. So, but I just hope we're both believers by the time this thing is over. All right. So But I think that as a Christian, I actually think that Christianity provides the most logical worldview.
Okay.
Because it gives answers to things such as origin
Okay.
of where we came from. So science cannot tell me that, right?
Right.
So science cannot answer the question of where did it all begin or how did it all begin. Okay?
Well, they do have answers for that, but
okay,
but I don't think they're good answers.
no, and that's like the problem.
But I'm not a scientist, so.
Right. Well, I mean, like the idea that something comes from nothing, right?
Right.
Which is something that has been proposed, is just as much of a leap of faith that something comes from nothing as that something comes from God. If you want to put it that way.
True.
So in other words, to me, both of them are as logical as the other. Okay. And I would actually argue that as a Christian, the idea that there is a divine, intelligent designer outside of time and space that is able to create something out of nothing makes much more sense to me than nothing spontaneously creating something when we've never seen that repeated before or afterwards.
Right.
And we can't, and obviously in a testing way, we cannot test that either. Like we cannot have a quote unquote space that has nothing in it to then run tests to try to create something out of nothing. Because even in the most empty quote unquote space, we still have substance. There's still something that is there.
And science tells us that matter cannot be created.
Mm-hmm.
We can destroy it now, though.
Yeah, we can destroy it.
Atomic bombs.
Boom. And so I think that, that's why I say, like, for example, the issue of origin, we have an answer for origin, of why we got here. When we talk about things like morality, as Christians, I have an answer for morality, of why we believe what we believe, why our morals are our morals.
Does your morality mesh with your logic?
Yes.
Okay.
And so for me, that's one thing. Science, for example, so if I'm coming at it from a scientific perspective or a modern worldview cannot tell me morality. Science cannot tell me morality.
Right.
It cannot speak to morality.
Where did morality evolve from?
Right.
Or explode from nothing from?
Correct. Yeah, because I cannot run a scientific test to give me morality, right? Cannot do it. And so therefore, for me, that falls short of being logically to be able to speak to enough things logically and coherently. I think actually Christianity does a better job of that than atheism.
Morality would be the worst thing to evolve.
What do you mean?
Because it makes things worse.
Morality makes things worse?
Yeah.
Okay. In what way?
Because if we just acted like animals and there really was, we believe there's nothing after for animals.
Right.
If we acted that way and just evolved to survive longer and fly and breathe underwater and go to space,
right,
then that would be way better than worrying about not running over somebody on the highway in my car and getting charged with manslaughter because the whoever thinks I did it on purpose and going to jail for a few years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
I wouldn't have to deal with any of that crap.
Right. So you're saying
or think about any of it or worry or no one because no one would care.
So you're saying like if there was just literally no morality.
Right.
Like in other words, there's no one telling us this is moral or this is not moral.
Right.
Yeah. I think that science has to be honest about that too, right? Like if I take a modern worldview, then I have to be honest about the fact that it's not giving me any kind of clarity on actually what is moral and not moral, Right. Like what is preventing me from going out and running over somebody with my car, right? Like who cares?
Right.
I wanted to. I instinctively felt like it.
Yeah.
And I understand.
I did it for my own survival.
Right.
Because I needed to get somewhere fast.
Yeah. Or, or like the idea of, well, but I want to, if it's survival of the fittest, I want to exert my strength.
Right.
My strength is to therefore get rid of those that I deem lesser. Or
truth is, if that was the case, I'd be dead already, but. It wouldn't matter.
Right. Yeah. And so for me, that's the morality issue is another issue. And even like, you kind of mentioned it, the idea of destiny, or the idea of like what happens when this whole thing ends, right?
Right.
Science can't speak to that. We do. We speak to it. And granted, we speak to it in a way that talks about heaven and hell. And people may or may not like that, right?
But there's an answer.
But there's an answer. In the same way that people may not like the fact that we are talking, like that Christians say this is moral or this is not moral. They may not like the morality that we're landing on, but at least we have a consistent, coherent line of thought that says we believe this is moral based upon, and I know we're going back to a book, quote unquote, of teachings that were found, in the first century, AD, and then the collection of teachings that we find in the Old Testament scriptures. And so we realize that, we're going back to a book, but as a Christian, at least, I'm going, yeah, but there's been a consistent moral, movement, for thousands of years.
So where did God come from? Nothing?
And that's the thing, so this is the way I would frame that, is that everything that exists has to exist based upon necessity, of its own existence, or based upon causality. Okay. And so everything that exists is either there because it's necessarily there, or because it was caused or created to be there. Okay. And so when you because that's one of the things people ask is, right, like, so, well, but what's the answer for God, right? Like, if you're going to say where the universe came from, right? And I'm going, well, the universe came from the God.
Okay. So then where did he come from?
Where did he come from? But what I'm also saying is those are not two equivalent things. Okay. That the universe doesn't, out of necessity, have to exist. Okay. But God does. And so and so
what's the answer to the question?
Is that so that if all right, so the universe doesn't necessarily have to exist. Okay, it doesn't exist out of necessity. The universe exists out of causality, is what I would say. All right,
God caused it to
exist. Okay, and so if that's the line of thinking that I'm moving from, then
something caused God to exist.
Then let me frame it this way. Okay. All right, I'm going to frame it in a syllogism form. All right.
Great.
All right. So syllogism just simply being, that we have premises that lead to a conclusion. Okay.
That's what that means. I knew that.
So premise one, everything that exists has an explanation of its existence. Okay. Either in the necessity of its own nature or in an external cause. Okay. It exists either out of necessity of its own nature or an external cause. If the universe has an explanation of its existence, that explanation is God. Okay. The universe exists. We acknowledge that.
This is the Bible?
No, this is just me reading a syllogism. All right. The universe exists.
What's this? Who wrote this? Where'd this come from?
So I'm grateful for Dr. William Lane Craig at this moment.
Okay.
All right. And so the universe.
Where did he come from?
God created him. All right. So
where'd God come from?
That's what we're getting to, man.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Hold on. All right. So the universe has an explanation of its existence. In other words, when the universe didn't have to exist, right?
Right.
Like, we don't have to exist. We don't have to be here.
I don't.
No. The universe doesn't have to exist.
Okay.
Right? Like there's no
Guess this is the last episode.
Oh, I hope not. All right. So because we don't have to be here, right?
Right.
So the universe didn't have to exist.
Okay, I got that. But where'd God come from?
So this is what I'm getting to. So the universe had to have something that was outside of time, space, matter, right?
Okay.
To create it, to cause, in other words, to cause its existence.
Okay.
Okay? Because the universe is not existing out of its necessity of its own nature. Because it doesn't necessarily have to exist.
Right.
Whereas God necessarily has to exist.
Okay.
Because if there is a universe, okay, if there's a universe, then God has to be the explanation for the universe. And you can't keep moving the goalpost back, right? Of going, well, then where did that come from? Where did that come from? At some point we have to say there is a divine being that exists outside of time, space, and matter, and that is not existing out of any kind of external cause, but rather out of the necessity of its own nature.
So he exists because?
Correct.
Just because.
Just because.
So shut up about it and quit asking questions. That's the answer?
Well,
he exists because.
Right. Because the universe doesn't have to exist necessarily, right? As we've talked.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there had to be a point that was prior to the universe's existence. Because. And that really is the answer of, well, then what was that point prior to the universe's existence? And again, so something logically had to have been there. Okay?
Is.
Right? And so, for example, using those words, when Moses asked God, who do I tell the people sent me, when Moses is going back into Egypt, God's response is,
"Cause."
Well, he says, "I am."
Okay.
And that means
is.
Being. Be. It literally means be. Right? Like,
okay.
Always has been, presently is, always will be. Right? Like, be.
Okay.
That's what I am. And so that's
so what's new creation gonna be then?
What do you mean?
Is that just a new thing that was created from the is?
Okay. Yeah. That would be a new...
It came out of Ben?
That would be a new thing created from the quote-unquote be. From the I am.
From the I am.
Yeah, from God.
Okay. So he exists because...
Yeah, he exists necessarily to his own nature. Like,
okay, so atheists don't believe this at all.
No, 100% they do not.
Okay, so right, because they just don't.
Well, of course they don't. That's right.
Right.
Because, all right, and
because it just took you 10 minutes to explain it. So
well, I think. No, but like trying to use logical like movement, right? Like,
right.
Okay, so like whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. Okay. And what I'm saying is the cause
nothing?
Me saying that the cause is God,
or
to me is a much more logical statement
than
to say, well, nothing. Because something cannot come out of nothing. Now,
okay.
you could offer up other options if you'd like. You can say this universe began to exist because aliens outside of this universe created it.
The aliens that are.
Or that, yes. And if you would like
that am they because am.
Be. Is right. So, so if you want to believe aliens that were outside of this universe created this universe, you can believe that aliens outside of this universe created this universe.
I like the Matrix one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one you're going with?
Yeah.
All right. That's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody's just, in a big dream.
Why do you ask? Well, 'cause.
Yeah, and I would say, and someone had to create the Matrix.
Right, but then I would say someone would have to create God.
Yeah, but my point being, see, but there had to be, okay, say that's fine.
Okay. So you're saying that it's just circular logic.
Correct.
All the way back. So
because something at some point
had to be.
Go back.
Okay.
Something at some point has to have been there because of necessity of its own nature.
Oh, because we're here.
Correct.
So if I am, then something had to am also somewhere.
Always. Yes. And that's the point I'm getting to, right?
I'm going to put that on a poster.
You can name it.
If I am, then something had to am also somewhere always.
B. So I think that, and that's kind of my point. Like, you can keep going back. That's fine. Like, if that's what you choose to do, you keep going back. But at some point, you've got to go. It has to hit.
Okay.
It has to hit a being, whatever you want to call that.
So I might as well just believe this thing that's saying it,
right?
Because we're RM now. Then before create, I am me, you,
God. Yes. And so,
okay, atheism makes sense now. Or what? No, yeah.
No, atheism doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, well,
or it does.
It does. But here's the thing about atheism: is like when I'm not knocking the logic in atheism. Okay. What I'm saying is there's limits. It hits a limit, right?
When you get from nothing to cuz.
Because you could go, if you want to go all the way back to the beginning point, right?
Yeah.
And go, okay, I can empirically, by evidence, show that these, that this matter existed, right? Whatever that matter was, right? That's there. Okay, cool. Who put it there? How did it become, right? What was its cause? And
why? And how?
Right.
And when? And
yes.
who?
All of those things.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could get back to
why.
Right. And so, because there is a limit where I hit that wall, right?
Yeah.
I can't go back any further.
But that wall doesn't really exist.
The wall exists.
Where?
Or the point. Okay. Well, not okay. Yes. There's not a wall that exists. Okay. All right. We don't want to start triggering people with walls. All right. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's easy to climb over. It's nice. And then paradise is on the other side.
Something. All right. So, So there's a point we're going to all get to.
Yes.
So that's the limit is that point
in our brains.
Right.
Okay.
And in reality.
Okay.
In true,
we can't explain who, what, when, where, and why be
right
us.
I mean, in a reality, like we can if we go all the way back, there's this point. It's not just in our brains; it's a real thing. We can go all the way back to here.
Okay.
Now, what's the cause of that? Right?
Yeah.
Not necessity of its own existence. No, I mean that to me that doesn't make sense.
I don't think people are going to find like the origins of whatever and how we got here, because the longer we're here, the harder it is to find.
Yeah, I think it's
like the first 48 hours. Like it'd be a whole lot easier to figure out where we came from after the first 48 hours than it is 65 billion years later.
Right. That's fair.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Like if if the Earth is really that old, then all the evidence of where we came from is long gone. I mean, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting to me is we keep gaining more evidence, right, of what's out there.
Right.
We are able to take ourselves back even further, okay, to the fine tuning of the universe, to like its beginning points. But what it's doing is it's doing nothing but offering the clarity of the fact of, but it hits a point. Something created that point, right?
Okay.
And so for me, whether it's the origin or whether it's the fine tuning, argument of the universe, whatever we want to look into, to me, you all get back to this one point and go, yeah, but here at this juncture, it all began. If you want to say it Big Bang happened. Cool. Big Bang. I'm with you. Big Bang happened. Okay. What caused that?
An explosion.
Right. And what caused that explosion? Right. What caused there to be the elements that were needed for that to even happen? For
the Big Bang to equal all the everything that we are now?
Yeah. And And for me, and I will say this too, like, this is where atheism through a scientific lens kind of hits a wall for me too. It's just even in the fine tuning of the universe, of our own bodies, of our own planet, like it's so intricate, right? Even like the cellular levels. I mean, like, when Dawkins, writes in God Delusion, where he says that, Richard Dawkins, new atheist, when he writes in God Delusion, and he says that it looks like it points to a creator, right? And it looks like it's pointing to some kind of intelligent designer, like it looks that way. It all appears that way. But then, of course, Dawkins moves logically for me where he goes, yeah, but it can't be that way.
Just
and it really is because there can't be a God, and of course the hang up is in that point when Dawkins is writing God Delusion, the hang up was for Dawkins, how could the Judeo-Christian God be seen as loving or kind, or, when he seems so horrible and terrible and mean and judgmental and unloving. And that's Dawkins' perspective, okay, of God, especially the God of the Old Testament, but also the God how could a God kill his own son? Like, what kind of monster is this? Like, that's Dawkins' perspective. But for me, when he goes from it, I mean, it's like he's lining up the Christian's argument for him. All of these things point to the fact that it looks like there's a designer, but there can't be. And that's where, for me, a lot of atheists, even though they might use science as trying to justify their atheism, the atheism is often found not up here in the head, but here in the heart. There's something going on a heart level for many individuals that claim atheism because of either life experience or whatever it may be that causes them to go, you know what? There's no way. If this has happened, no way. Like, or again, I saw quote unquote God in this church environment or in this, whatever. No,
in a grilled cheese sandwich,
right? Whatever, right? So, but what I'm saying is like legitimate reasons on an emotional level or on an experiential level for wanting to reject God, and then using science to intellectually justify it.
Okay.
And I think that happens in atheism quite often. And so I would push for individuals, like when I talk to individuals and whether they're approaching atheism from a scientific standpoint, from a philosophical standpoint, from a morality standpoint, whatever their reason is for the way they're approaching intellectually, academically atheism, I often ask for I love to hear their story of like how they got there, of how the Christian became the non-Christian, of how the individual that was raised in a Christian home left the Christian home and started saying, forget that, I'm going to be an atheist, or even the individual that was raised in atheism and has remained there, right? Like, I love to hear the stories because often there's something there in that story that creates that angst or that hurt or whatever it is that atheists hold to, which is interesting because it's often the opposite of what is viewed with many atheists who, the whole idea of, that God is, the opioid of the masses, right? Like religion is the opioid of the masses. In other words, right? Like that the masses
get a hit once a week on Sunday.
Or like the idea that the masses cling to there being a God to help them, make it through life, to give them some sense of comfort or peace in their life, but it's because they really need it, right? But and so it's interesting because often that is the critique of Christianity. Like, you need God because of whatever's happened, right? And what I'm saying is I think actually people reject God often because of what has happened.
Okay, where did atheism get started?
Where did atheism get started?
Who was the first
The first atheist?
big atheist
Yeah. So
who went around the country and started spreading atheism to anyone that would hear it?
listen to us all.
Yeah.
No, I think that, again, I think what I said earlier, there's always been people that just didn't believe in a God.
Okay.
Right? I mean, no, I think it's just that's probably been there for,
We just have
almost
smarter
all of
reasons to not
humanity.
believe in God now?
Well, what I was going to say was, there was a rise of atheism that had to do with Greek, philosophy, in the 5th century, BC. And so there's that. But I think that what we think of atheism, the way we're understanding atheism, is the atheism that rose out of the Enlightenment period.
Okay.
In the 18th century, and then, really gaining traction with, the melding of it together with science as we're going from the 19th into the 20th and through the 20th century.
Okay.
And so I think that's, that's kind of the sketch, if you were, of the atheism that we often relate to and understand today.
And now we have internet atheists, podcast atheists.
Yes.
Who are the best?
Yeah. And again, and I think atheism has changed in some ways. I think there's still the atheism that is really...
Nothing is different?
Well, I think atheism that we saw in the 19th and 20th century really rooted and grounded in science.
Okay.
I think that atheism has I think there's an atheism that's moved now. 'Cause you had that, and then you had the new atheism with Richard Dawkins and Hitchens and that group, and they kind of really kind of recharged that whole science against religion thing,
okay.
Or science against God
in the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s into the 2000s, okay. And so there was a big movement of that, and so the new atheism gave this kind of charge, rah rah rah. And what's interesting is, with the new atheist, they really kind of created their own movement, and now it's kind of petered out. Like people are just like, wait a minute, that doesn't give really good answers, and it doesn't. It just didn't give. It didn't give the answers I think a lot of people were hoping it was going to give. Right, the idea of it's going to explain it's going to answer basically every answer or question I've got in my life, right? Of why I'm here and what I'm doing and all this and it just didn't provide that. But now I think there's an atheism that's more rooted in what I'll call the critical theory worldview.
Okay.
And so that there's an atheism that's embedded in there of it's more like it's atheism, but it's a lot of humanism attached to it. In other words, it's about us. It's about the understanding of the oppressed versus I've told this before, the oppressed versus the oppressor, but it's a lot of idea of.
So how do you decide amidst all that there's also no God?
Yeah, because I think that the idea is that because of that the way I have been oppressed in this manner, and again, oftentimes it's framed because of the Judeo-Christian God and their beliefs on sexuality and gender, on all of that, right? Then therefore I'm rejecting Judeo-Christianity, I'm rejecting their morality, I'm rejecting their understanding of God, their understanding of gender and sex and race, and
so it's a rejection
of all of that, and therefore I'm going to embrace something that is ideologically opposed to it.
Okay.
And it's a form of atheism.
Okay.
Okay. Now some might say, well,
Sounds
I'm not
like creating new gods.
Why do you say that?
It just sounds like believing in different gods and not believing in.
Well, and I think for me it is the idea of a belief system.
Right.
Because
they believe in something else.
Correct. So, if
which is generally just the opposite of whatever Christians believe.
Right. So whereas the traditional atheism that's melded with science and modern worldview, that kind of thing, where it was very fundamentally against religion, I think that critical theory and the atheism that's been attached to it actually has its own belief system. It's a religion.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the difference of it. It is to me an exchange of one religion for the other. And I don't think they would ever view it that way.
Right.
But it has become that. Like there is an ideological component of critical theory that is religious to its bone, to its core.
That's why I said that, because it seems like they have a bunch of different gods they believe in, and they don't all fit together.
Well, okay, and that's true.
Like, well, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like,
it seems like they're incompatible things to all believe in at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, so we moved from modernism to postmodernism.
Yeah.
Right. So, postmodernism was like, whatever, like, just believe whatever you want to. Like, it's all relative.
Yeah.
Like, we can all like coexist.
But now we're in postmodernism where both sides are like, no, you have to believe what we believe.
Correct. We have way moved past, postmodernism, and now we're in this, like you said, postmodernism, where I call critical theory. And absolutely, it's very much a black and white, us them mentality.
If this crusade ever gets hot, I'm on your side, because they're the ones with all the guns.
Yeah, and so it's just a.
I'll put the Jesus fish on the back of my car and
wear
my cross necklace. And,
right, you're swearing your allegiance.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so
wave the Christian flag.
Constantly. All right, so I think that
never not take my Bible anywhere. Got it on me at all times.
Right. You're not using that Bible app. No, sir.
That reminds me of a verse.
Right.
That pertains to this conversation that was nothing about God the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be me.
That's gonna be... I got some camo if you want to wear it too. So, but I think so. What's happened is this movement to critical theory. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of it is interesting because there's a lot of very much clear cut. It has to be this, has to be this, has to be this. But like on its logical face value of it, like even the groups that are quote unquote together actually are opposed at times.
Right?
And it is such an interesting dynamic because, often because of the idea of intersectionality, in other words, how gender connects with sexuality, which connects with, one's religion, which connects with one's own economic background, which connects to one's own educational background, which connects to one's race, those kind of things, right? Which connects to one's religion. It really is about like, how much of a minority or how much of an oppressed am I, right?
Right.
Like how many points do I score on all of the categories?
Right.
And
like if a gay black guy and a trans person in a wheelchair got in a fight, who do we root for? Right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. I mean, because
who do we hope dies?
Right. Because you're not wrong. Like it's the idea. Okay, well, here's a guy, and you just mentioned he's gay and black, right? Mm-hmm. So like, okay, so here's two points for this guy, right?
Right.
And you said it was another guy,
a trans disabled person,
right?
And so 2 points for that person. So at the end of the day, which funeral are we going to?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of and that's the interesting thing of it, right? Like because of how intersectionality works and how much of a victim one individual is versus another, right?
Right. And that's the hierarchy of the gods.
That's in a lot of ways, yeah.
Anyway, that's what that feels like. Yeah, but this isn't atheism.
No, yeah, I know. But you're right that this kind of atheism that's been melded together with this critical theory is it is its own religion. They really have their own belief system, and really the God is a God of power. Who has the power? Who has more power than the other?
Right.
And the idea of pursuing that power to overthrow others in quote unquote power. It's a power game, and it's kind of I don't know, man. It's a messed up kind of place. But anyways, for for atheism that connects with that, and obviously you've got individuals that hold with a critical theory that would say I'm a Christian or whatever, right? But then often they would not say that Christianity is the only way, right? They're still holding to more of a postmodern, pluralistic, viewpoint, polytheistic viewpoint. So,
so that's the history of atheism.
Yeah, so atheism, I think, finds itself in an interesting place today that's not maybe as rooted in science as often as it is rooted in other things that I think are more
anti-Christian,
and that are probably hinged more toward emotion and feeling rather than logic and science.
Okay.
Although
they exist too.
That exists as well, right? Okay. So I don't want anyone to. I don't like you say if you're like you're an atheist listening to this and you very much hold to science or you hold to like a logical, I'm not discounting that exists. It's just you're just seeing a rise of something else now.
Okay. Well, that brings me to my next question.
Okay.
Which is, why do atheists always have to not believe in Christian God more than all the other gods, and let you know that Christians are wrong way more than any other religion is wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I think
because that's true, right?
I think especially in the experience in the
there's no huge Muslim atheist movement that I've ever heard of.
No, I'm not a Muslim atheist movement.
Or,
no, you're not going to blend those two worlds together. And so like
what is? Yeah.
No, you're right. Like in the sense of okay, yeah, in Europe and in the United States of America, where atheism has its its roots and its strongholds, right? Mm-hmm. Where you have more atheists there. I mean, we could obviously throw in. We could start throwing in having conversations about what's going on in with Russia or China or right. Like all that's there too. But but let's stick to the Western. Let's stick to Western thought of atheism.
I don't even get why we talk about that.
All right. Okay. So, but my point just being is.
Well, now I have to know what you're going to say.
Okay. All right. Well, because in China you've got you have atheists, but then you also have individuals that are very religious in China.
Okay.
Yeah. In Russia, there's a large amount of atheists. So that's why I was saying, like,
isn't Russia
in Europe
Christian?
Is it Christian?
Yeah.
No.
I thought Russia was Christian.
Now, is there a Russian Orthodox church that's ran by the state? Yes.
That's what I meant.
Okay. Ran by the state being the key part to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pope Putin.
And so it's and so it's controlled.
Okay.
So it's not the free Christianity we know in our country today.
Right.
Okay. But my point is, I think that we see the anti-Christian movement in atheism because of the history of Christianity as being the majority in Europe, although that's not the case anymore, and in America.
Okay.
Where that's declining, right?
Okay.
And so I think that's why why it's kind of atheism is geared more toward an anti-Christian slant is because it's in the context of where Christianity was the stronghold, and it's the idea of, come on, guys, we're smarter than this, we're better than this. We don't have to believe something so pathetically simple-minded as Christianity.
Okay.
So
I kind of like that it's simple-minded sometimes.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually do too.
You're like, just come and say this thing, but really mean it. Right. Say this thing, and then you're good.
Yeah.
Have fun. It's not bad, right?
So that means a bit more involved in that.
Just punched in for a eternity of awesomeness.
No, there's not just the fire insurance that's involved.
Okay.
It's more than that.
All right. Well, whatever. We can talk about
it. We have talked about it. Oh, we will. Go listen to our other episodes.
All right. Okay, so you brought up the morality thing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where do atheists get their morality from? And talk about where you get it from.
Okay,
I guess.
Yeah. So where do atheists get it from?
Yeah, because they say that they can be moral without any God existing.
Correct.
So do you think that's true?
No, I don't. And,
All right.
and the reason I don't is because to me, for me, in a logically coherent worldview, you have an objective truth that leads one to an objective morality. Okay?
Cuz.
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll get the cuz here in a minute, okay? And so
Okay.
but and so I think that for atheists, there is no objective morality. There may be a preferred morality,
Okay.
but there's not an objective morality. In other words, I might prefer this to be the morality for our society,
Okay.
okay? But that's coming from one's own personal preference, not from any objective truth.
How do you know that there's an objective morality and not just what we all decided?
Okay. We all being like, we all Christians, or we all just in society?
Whatever.
Okay. All right. No, I think that's one of the arguments against an idea of objective morality. Okay. Is the fact that, the argument is, isn't morality more of a societal thing?
Okay.
Right? That as societies have evolved, morality has evolved with society. Okay.
Okay.
And so, and I agree to that to some point of,
Well, I don't like some of the ways society evolved morality.
no, and I don't either. And I was going to get to that, but what I was saying was I agree.
Doesn't feel very evolved.
Right. I agree that societies evolve and that societal laws and morals and values change with those societies. I agree to that. Like, that happens.
Okay.
But as a Christian, and as like, we've had a pretty simple standard morality now for 2,000 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then our morality,
Even during the Crusades.
even during the Crusades, we're not going to get on Crusades right now. Was that a moral good thing? Short answer, no.
Okay.
Should that have been avoided? Short answer, yes.
To not get killed.
But were there reasons behind it? Yes. Could those reasons be questioned? Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. But anyways, for the Christian, so we have our morality rooted, for the last couple thousand years, and it goes back even further for us. And so going back into Judaism,
Okay.
right? And so there's been a long history of our morality, and we would say that our morality doesn't just trace back to a book, okay, that we would call the Bible, which is what often is said. We go, no, our morality actually is derived from the intelligent designer, right? The
Okay.
creator.
So he created morality.
His nature is what determined what is moral and what is just.
So morality
Yes.
Okay.
So the cause is the cause of not only the universe's existence and
I don't
you
think
and I's
anyone's going to
existence-
understand this episode.
Probably not. And so not only because he's not only the cause. No, I'm just saying it randomly. And so God is the cause of not only like human existence, okay, but also morality, okay, and morality comes and derives from God and His nature and who He is.
So morality always was, and is, and
forevermore shall be. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
just like God. All right.
Yeah, because it's founded in His nature. It's founded in who God is.
Okay.
And so for and again, I understand individuals might say, well, we don't like the morality.
So atheists,
that's fine. But all I'm saying as a Christian is I believe there's an objective morality that we have that's clearly laid out in Scripture.
So it's not what you believe. You can't help it. It's always been there.
It's always been there. And I think for us, as just in humanity, okay, there's things that we think collectively is wrong. Okay? I mean, we believe that harming children is wrong. And so when individuals violate that throughout history,
we violate them.
Well,
right back.
Well, there's
in the exact same way.
No, sir. There's consequences for it.
Right.
There's punishment for it. Okay. And so, I mean, whether that is going back to the Bible and what the Bible says about it in Old Testament, whether it's going back to Hammurabi's code and what.
Huh? What the fuck did you say? What?
Hammurabi.
Who is that? Isn't that the gorilla that got...
No, Hammurabi's not
that gorilla violated a kid.
What do we...
And then we murdered him. Right?
No, I don't know. I don't know what gorilla you're talking about.
Or what? You just said it.
Hammurabi.
Huh?
Okay. Whew. All right. You've never heard of Hammurabi's code?
No.
Really? Okay. So, all right. So it's a code, all right, that was written somewhere, close to 2000 BC. Okay?
Okay.
And so, like, we have copies of it. Like, you can just, like, go online and print out a copy of Hammurabi's code.
All right, fine, there's a copy, but I didn't know it existed, okay. So how was I supposed to know to go look for it?
I'm just telling you, that's what you can do.
In my mind, it didn't am.
Well, okay. So, goodness gracious. All right. So,
what are we talking? Okay, go.
All right. So, Hammurabi's code has, like, almost 300 laws in it.
Is this in the Bible?
No. This is extra biblical.
Okay.
Well, all I'm saying, so this is my point. Whether you're looking at Old Testament, where you're looking at Hammurabi's code, like, we've had, like, something is in humanity that says certain things are right and certain things are not right.
Oh, and
Hammurabi
wrote down a list of stuff that he thought was right and not right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. That's the whole point of the Hammurabi's code is this, here's laws. And okay. So here's my point is that within humanity, we have this sense in us that go, these kind of things are not okay.
Okay.
And then other things we go are okay. And there's other things that are in the gray area, but there's, like, certain things that just into our core being, we go, you know what? No, it's not okay to harm or to violate a child, right?
Okay.
It's not like that's just not okay.
Right.
And so, murder for just no reason is not okay. I mean, and I understand there could be a reason, like, I'm mad at this person, but what I mean is, like, taking a life that doesn't have to do with self-defense or anything like that, right? Like, we are not okay with just taking life,
right?
And so I think that goes back to just the reality that that's in us, like, as humanity. And, like, the question is, well, where did that come from?
So you're saying atheists have God's morality in them?
I think we all have a sense of morality within us.
Okay.
That is derived from our Creator who created us.
Okay. So you think atheists get their morality from God just like you get your morality from God? It's just that you know what the morality is a little better because you're a pastor and a doctor.
Okay. No, I think that there's certain things that we all find not okay.
Okay.
Right. And so, like, we just certain things we just go, nope, not okay. We all have that, okay, collectively together. Mm-hmm. But without question, there's differences in other things of morality, okay? Like, there are, like, so for example, I mentioned earlier, Romans chapter 1 about the Creator and the created, and so what it talks about is that individuals, when they're turned over to their own hearts, they're turned over to to the sin and wickedness and depravity within them. And they go away from God. It says they become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy.
So if I move away from God and his morality, some other evil form of morality is going to...
Yeah, I mean, you're going to take up a morality. Like, we all have a moral compass of what's right and what's wrong. And so, what I'm saying is, yes, if we go, I'm rejecting the morality that we find in Christianity, then you're gonna adopt morality from something else,
right?
And that's where I guess that's where I'm saying it's like, for Christians, we go, okay, here's our morality, and it's objectively found in God, and revealed through Scripture. If I'm an atheist, or a pluralist, then my, an agnostic, whatever it may be, like, my morality is going to just be kind of hodgepodge together.
Okay.
And that's where I'm saying that becomes like a more of a subjective morality as opposed to an objective morality.
But wouldn't, if I had a hodgepodge of morality in there, that it would be conflicting?
It very well could be.
Okay.
100%. Like, if you're trying to take some of Christianity, some of Hinduism, some of, not just religions, but just, things that I think are okay, that I like or that I don't like, and I'm labeling these as good as bad, then yeah, absolutely. You're going to, it can be conflicting at times.
All right.
Yeah. And that's why I say it's not as logical.
Okay. What do you think of atheists as people, and what do you want to say to atheists as a Christian?
As a Christian? Like, number one, I got friends that are atheists. I know people who are atheists. Like, okay, got family who are atheists. Like, so it's not like I don't want it to come across as like it's Christians versus atheists. I think that's a bad way to frame it.
Don't they like to frame it that way?
Well, maybe. I would hope that we could frame it as in our viewpoints differ. Okay. And so instead of saying that person's bad, this person's good on either side of the argument, it would be better to say we have different perspectives and different viewpoints, different worldviews, but can we come together and discuss them reasonably? Right?
Are you saying they're not necessarily bad because an atheist could not believe in God but hold to God's morality completely?
I don't know if they can hold to God's morality completely, because I don't think any of us can.
But I mean,
believe it, though.
Believe it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of really good people that don't know, that do a lot of amazing things that are not Christians, that do not believe in, or do not believe in the Judeo-Christian God or any God. Okay. And so, absolutely, that's there. And so, I had.
Were you atheist for a hot minute?
No. No. Oh. No. Never been an atheist for a hot minute. I had a very close friend who was and is an atheist.
Okay.
And we got along well, but I think that one of the things is to understand, okay, we're going to have differing viewpoints, different perspectives.
Okay.
Right. And that's going to drive differences between us, but it doesn't mean we can't sit and talk and have discussion. I get bothered when Christians, especially Christian apologists, belittle atheists. Like, I am saying that I don't find atheism to be as logical, but it's not a belittling point. That's just my perspective of it.
Okay.
Right. And so I don't find any need to belittle an atheist. I don't find it helpful when atheists belittle Christians. Right. Like, I don't think that's helpful for either side. I think we can come along and talk, in an intelligent, rational way without belittling one another or those kind of things, and to find maybe the bridges that actually do connect us as opposed to divide us.
Or you just don't talk about it.
Or just don't talk about it.
And hang out.
But yeah, and you can do all that. But I have found that a lot of atheists are intrigued of going, well, because there are a good bit of atheists that grew up in the church that left the church.
Mm.
And I'm the opposite. Not that I was an atheist, but that I just wasn't.
Joseph, why are you still so stupid?
That I wasn't in the church, that I wasn't a Christian, that I wasn't saved, got saved in the church, and now I'm a pastor, right?
Right.
And so I find a lot of atheists are like, wait, what? Because for them, they left because they were like, this is ridiculous. So how can someone who didn't grow up in it, who wasn't raised in it,
they remember how logical you used to be.
And then
before you believed in all this cuz nonsense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. And so I think that's a big thing. Like the idea that, you know, hey, like we can actually hear each other's stories. And I like hearing their stories of like for me, I'm like, well, how could you grow up in a church and then leave? Like, that's like, how could you grow up, not just going to church, how could you grow up believing in God and leave that? Like, that's wild to me. And so it's interesting. I love having those conversation points. So I guess that's what I would like to say. I was like, find Christians that you can like have conversation with and with both people allowing the other one to speak, you know, without this defensive, you know, or offensive attacking manner.
Atheists do like debate and arguing with you.
100%. That's
it's their favorite thing.
Well, I say 100%. That was their favorite thing. It is the case for a lot of them, but there's a lot of atheists that I know as well that it's not like it's debate every turn, you know. So yeah, one last thing.
Okay,
one last thing.
All right.
Because I obviously, an atheist, and I would, even if you've been burned by church, the idea of God, like find someone that maybe is following Jesus, that you look at and go. Like, I've had an atheist tell me this before. They're like, Joseph, you and this other person are the only two people that I think are actually Christians. That, in other words, they're what they were saying was that you're actually walking out what you say that you believe. Okay, and so and then they were willing to start a conversation with me. Find someone like that. Find someone, if you're an atheist, find someone that you're like, you know what? I don't agree with it, but they are walking out what they say they believe.
Okay.
And go talk to them and find out why and what's happened and what's going on and why they, you know, follow Jesus. And to me, I think that's an incredible way of like hearing their story. Even if you're like, well, but I grew up in church, I saw this and that. I get it, man, I get it. But at the same time, find out what's different for them. Find out why they didn't. And so I think often you'll find yourself amazed at as I would encourage atheists to do this, and I would encourage Christians, you know. If you know atheists, do the same thing. Just share your story with them. Again, I said earlier, oftentimes it's not about here. It's about the heart. It's not about handing an atheist an apologetic book, right? And being like, well, here, read William Lane Craig's On Guard, and all of a sudden you're going to miraculously know God, right? Like, no. Share with them your story, your testimony, who God is, the real knowledge of experiencing God. And what that's like. And for me, I find individuals to be way more receptive to that than just an intellectual debate, right?
Okay. So. Well, this has been the When I Heard This Podcast. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and X and locals at When I Heard This. Ring the notification bell. Tell everyone that you know about the show, and go to the website where there's t-shirts. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinsov, and you can follow Joseph on Instagram at
Rev Joe T.
This has been the When I Heard This Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.